evening, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in regards to our smudging ceremonies. This webinar is called Archetypes and Intention Setting. And my name is Jamiel. For those of you, if we haven't met before, it's nice to meet you and see you on here. I want to thank you for participating in this webinar. And even bigger than that, I want to thank you for wanting to kind of incorporate these ceremonies in your life. These ceremonies and this intention setting practice is something that it needs to be kept alive by us. And so by being willing to carry on these traditions, you're carrying on these ancient traditions so that they are not forgotten. And so that really touches my heart. And it's a lot of gratitude there for that. So welcome to each and every one of you. I want to go over a quick thing of what we're going to do here tonight. This webinar will be about an hour and a half, and if you have any questions throughout it, you can type in your questions and I will answer them as I see you. Pop in there. Hello to everyone. Okay, so we're going to start off here with a quick recap of our smudging ceremony from the last class. For those of you who were not able to take that class with us, you can grab that on our website, gregoryjamiel.com. In the store, you'll see the smudging webinar, and you can purchase that there and watch the first half of this. So to go over what we talked about last time real quick, tonight I'm going to be using Palo Santo, which is a piece of wood that works spiritually. So because we're doing intention settings and archetypes, I wanted to work with that spiritual energy. So we're going to use Palo Santo for that. I also have my abalone shell, I have my lighter, and I have my fan. Okay, so the smudging ceremony, what most people are familiar with is the act of smudging your home or smudging yourself. And what we're doing there is hoping to remove and uplift any energy that may be stuck or stagnant and allow it to move out of our house or off of our body. What we're working with tonight with our intention setting and archetypes is actually putting that smudging ceremony to action for ourselves. Now, throughout this webinar, I'm going to interchange different words like intention setting, prayer. You can use whatever you want for that. If prayer is a trigger word for you, you can use intention setting. If you want to use the word prayer, go for it. And there's other things too. We're going to say divinity, God, the universe, the great unknown. I like to say sacred ones and holy people, because to me, I'll be honest with you, I'm not at a place where I feel comfortable saying God. I don't know what God is. And so I do feel comfortable saying sacred ones because that relates to everyone that is non-human. So my parents who passed away, they are sacred ones too. And so I really do like to say sacred ones or holy people. And so you may hear me interchanging some of those words tonight. And I just want to remind you all to use them however you feel comfortable using them. Okay. So Norma, it looks like we have some questions here popping in. So Norma asked, when you smudge a room, do you go clockwise or counterclockwise? Norma, this is covered in that first session, but I'll answer it real quick. When you are cleaning a room, you're going to start off entering the front door, going to the left and going clockwise as the sun would move around the room. Okay, so imagine that circular energy, that clockwise energy. Tonight, we'll be doing different things. So I'm a yoga teacher and we have a yoga studio here. And so before a big event or a ceremony, I will wind the energy up. I will go clockwise in the room, calling out to the four directions as I go by, asking them to come and charge that space and fill that space with positive energy and really uplifting vibes. Now, when everyone leaves, sometimes ceremonies can be emotional and some stuff kind of comes up. So when everyone leaves, I want to clear that energy out. So I will go counterclockwise to close that circle again too. So I hope that helps. And again, that's all covered in that first webinar too. So what I'd like to do to start off here tonight is to use our smudging ceremony to set our intentions. This is basically what we're going to be doing in this whole entire webinar tonight. So if you have Palo Santo or sage or cedar at home, now you can light it. I want you to sit up nice and tall, take a few breaths, keep both feet on the ground, and maybe even close your eyes if you're not lighting your sage or Palo Santo. Okay? You light this here. We're going to lay some intentions for our time together this evening. Once my Palo Santo is lit, I'm going to blow it out. oops, and offer this to the four directions. So to the east, and to the south, and to the west, and to the north, to Mother Earth and Father Sky. Sacred ones and holy people of the four directions, all the energy of the plants that we're using today, the cedar, the sage, the sweetgrass, the palo santo, our fire, grandfather fire, our water here, the feather fan that I have. I'm calling out to you at this time, asking for your wisdom to come into our webinar. I'm asking for that knowledge to come into my mind. I'm asking for that wisdom to come into my eyes so maybe I can see something different, into my ears so maybe I can hear something and uptake something a little bit different. That understanding that I have for things, I'm asking through this smoke today that I might be able to hear things a little bit differently. Through my nose, sacred ones, the smells that I sense, I'm asking to smell some beauty, to feel uplifted when I work with this sage or this palo santo. To my mouth, I'm asking that I speak beautiful words to my friends here joining us today. And to all of us at home, I'm asking that we can be open as well to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, and new ways of understanding. So I'm calling on you, sacred ones, and asking for your help today as we move into our ceremony together. I hope. And so I want to thank you guys for doing that with me. That's the way I usually set things up before I do a ceremony for someone, or if I do a class, or sometimes in the morning, I'll light that sage or palo santo or whatever I want to work with, and I'll call out intentions like that. So for me, I'm speaking to the four directions. That's what I feel most closely aligned with. And I'll go into those different archetypes later on in the class. But I want to talk a little bit about intention setting, because this is a powerful, really big deal. And it can hang a lot of people up. We can get stuck on intention settings here. So I want to explain a little things and break it down. Let's see if we have a few questions here. Marjorie asks, is it okay to memorize what you just said? Marjorie, that's a wonderful question. And this goes right along with what I'm about to say. So you can use what I say as a guide. But what I just said right now is for us in this moment here. So it's not something that you would continue to repeat because you're not always in a session like we're in right now. And I'll go through that later on. I'll give you little examples as we go through each section to show how you can use these intentions and call upon the sacred ones for that help and that wisdom. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what are we doing when we're setting intentions? Now, a lot of times, again, you can use prayer or intention setting. So we're connecting with that which we don't understand, that which is miraculous, that which is divine. There's that sacredness out there. And so when we set our intentions in this way, or when we are saying our prayers in a certain way, we're trying to bridge that gap between the human world and the sacred world. And so that is the act of setting intentions. Now, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, because typically when we set intentions, now this is just typically, it's a generalization, a lot of times we're asking for something. So we may be asking, we're having trouble in our job and we're asking for a new job, or we may have trouble in a relationship and so we're asking for a new relationship. And so that's typically what happens when we do these intention settings or these prayers. We're asking for a solution to a problem that we have. And I want to break that part down, because that is the biggest thing that we get hung up on. So 2 hurdles that we work with. One, prayer or intention setting is a mystical act. It is not a logical one. It's attached to faith. That's the first thing. So trying to understand, and Marjorie, I don't mean to use you as an example, but that's a perfect example of trying to say, well, I'm going to memorize what he just said because then I can do it. The biggest lesson that I want to share with you is that this communication that you're building with the other side or with these sacred ones is between you and them. So it's really important to be as authentic as you can when you're speaking to these. And when I wrote up this class, I put in the advertisement for it, getting to know these friends that are around you all the time. And that's really how I look at these. I even look at Palo Santo as my friend, okay? So I have human friends and I have spiritual friends. My human friend Bill, for example, he has an auto body shop. He's fantastic with cars. My other friend Matt is a chef and he's really great with food. If I had a problem with my car, I would go to Billy. If I had a problem with a food recipe, I'd go to Matt. And so the same thing happens here when we're working with these different plants and archetypes. If you have a spiritual question or a spiritual issue that you're working with, you may want to use Palo Santo. If you're looking for protection or for strength, you may want to use sage. If you're looking to connect with beauty or sweetness or that uplifting energy, you may choose to connect with cedar. Okay? All right. I'm just trying to shut some of these things off there too. Marjorie, good question there. The second hurdle, okay, so the first one, again, is that difference between the human world and the spiritual world. So prayer is a mystical act. It is not a logical one. When we begin to overthink things, it goes away, it doesn't work, okay? Second hurdle that we have to look at, divinity does not work like humans. Human friends help with human problems, like I just expressed. The divine takes care of things in its own way. So these, again, are very important things to remember. You may put an intention out there for healing for a family member, or for, again, I said your job. It's like maybe your job is not something that you're really in love with, and so you're putting this call out to get a new job or have things change. And it's important to remember that we're put here on this earth to problem solve ourselves, to figure things out ourselves. It's our responsibility, 100% our responsibility, to grow and develop who we are as a person. And so by calling on the sacred ones and asking them to help you solve a human problem, we're kind of bypassing that knowledge that you attain by going through the process yourself. And so that's something I just really want to emphasize, that because, again, it's the first thing we all do. When we have a problem, we set an intention that way. We ask for help for that way. I want us to think a different way today. I want us to try to open our minds to a different way of thinking. Instead of, we'll use the example of, I don't like my job, I want a new job. So instead of saying, sacred ones and holy people, I need a new job, help me get a new job, what I might suggest you say is, sacred ones and holy people, let me figure out what I am really good at, what I love to do, and how I can turn that into a job where I can be really happy and financially stable for the rest of my life. So it's thinking that way. It's reframing the things that we're asking for help from, okay? Think of this. When you go into a big church, so I've done a lot of traveling, and I've, you always go into the churches and see how awe-inspiring they are. You walk in and, they're just beautiful, huge ceilings, and everything is external and grand, and it feels very sacred and spiritual. It feels very like a different place from when you walked outside, okay? Now, that is a very external experience of that. That's a sacred view of something that's gigantic. Now, when my mom passed away, we printed out those little prayer cards and I saved it. And so when I use this prayer card now, I hold that up close and I see the picture of my mom and the prayer that we said for her. And so it's taking that grandeur that you experience in a church, something that's really big and outside of your own body. And when it comes in small like this, it is actually taking that sacredness and bringing it closer into your own personal space. And so I don't want to say it's more or less powerful, but it is a little bit more potent when it's in your space. It's in that close proximity to your mind, your body, and your spirit. Okay? So Heidi says, the way I do this is to give thanks and then ask. Exactly, Heidi. That's a great thing to do. Gratitude and appreciation when you are setting intentions is a huge, powerful ally. So thank you for sharing that. We have this idea that the divine is a problem solver, and we set intentions and pray for solutions to our problems. I wrote some notes out, so I'm going over these a little bit, so I might kind of double say them a few times, but we kind of went over that already. It's just making sure that when we're facing a problem, that we are actually committed to trying to figure out a solution to that problem on our own. Because again, it's why we came here. It's why we're human. We're here to grow and learn and evolve. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, so I work with a guy, Phil, who's a medium. A lot of you guys are from that group. And a lot of those people who go see a medium go to him because they've lost someone dear to them and they want to connect to them on the other side. And so a lot of times I will get people who talk to me about intention setting or saying their prayers, and they're asking why they're feeling this suffering. Why do they have to go through this pain of losing someone? And believe me, I've lost both my parents. I've lost a lot of aunts and uncles. I can relate to that pain that's there. I mean, we each experience it in our own way, but the pain of losing someone is a really profound life sculpting experience, because it changes who we are forever, especially if it's a child or a parent or a partner or someone you've been in close contact with for a long time. It changes us to the core. There's that little place inside of us that will forever remain who we are. That spirit of who we are is there, but we can suffer along the way. And so a lot of those things, people ask, well, why do I have to suffer? Why do I have to feel that pain? And that something I want to remind people is like, that's a very human experience. That's a very human pain to feel, is the loss of a loved one. And so trying to put things in perspective in that way, where it's like, yeah, that's life. There is death as a part of life. And so we all have to go through that. And we basically are living this ceremony that we're in right now, and then we die and we move on to the next ceremony. That's the way I see it. And so, when I pass away, I will hopefully see my parents on the other side there, and we'll move on to the next ceremony together. So Heidi, thank you for sharing that there. The pain brought me here and I'm learning too. Thank you, Heidi. That's really good. So I want to come back to this intention about us being our own problem solvers. So as we're setting these intentions and asking for this help and working in this way, it's important to keep in mind that we are the ones who are going to be solving our problems. And so when you set your intentions, when you ask for help and advice, try your best to remember to have that turn back on yourself, to let that empower yourself, so you can feel good in who you are and strong and confident and creative. So maybe one example of your job again, it's like, set your intention that your mind can be open to thinking outside of the box, right? Maybe you think a certain way. It's like, maybe show you something that you haven't quite thought of. That's a really powerful way to work with intentions that way, to kind of go around the side of it instead of just asking for the solution, because it is up to us to find that solution. Another thing that people deal with a lot is this lack of self-love. So we can recognize faith in other things and other people, but we have a hard time seeing that in ourselves too. And that's, again, the root of our intention setting, is to heal us first from the inside so that we can be empowered to make changes in our own life. Now, here's the second thing. So going back to that second hurdle that we need to get over. Divinity doesn't work like humans. Human friends help with human problems. The divine takes care of it in its own way. So I want to talk about that for just a moment here too. So as humans, our strength lies in our analytical, reason, order, thinking mind, and our logical mind. That's our strength. We are thinkers. We are builders. We are people who create things and who solve problems and figure out things. Now, the divine strong suit is in miracles and in miraculous things that we can't possibly wrap our head around. So soak that in for just a moment. When we are asking for help from these sacred ones or guidance from the divine, their strength is in that miraculous arena. And that brings us back to that faith. It brings us back to the belief that what we speak as our intentions, what we speak as our prayers, or what we're asking for, that belief and that faith in that which is greater than us is enough as you lay your intentions down. So again, to kind of break that up, we as humans are looking for instant gratification. We're gonna set an intention for a new job, and then we get frustrated when a week later we still don't have a new job. And so we have to change our mind around that expectation, and remember to kind of put this intention out there and let the divine deal with it however it sees fit to deal with it. And one of those challenges, one of those strengths that we may learn, is that that job that we're looking for is not coming, and it's up to us to figure out a new solution. So again, to come back to this, reframe the way you set intentions, okay? Ask for that strength inside. Ask for that wisdom and knowledge inside of you. Ask for your creativity to come through. Ask for your strength of and perseverance of your character to come through. Ask for you to connect with that wise energy that's out there. And again, broaden your mind, broaden your vision of what you're thinking. Faith is a challenge. Again, this is faith in ourselves and our relationships and our partners and children. Now, here's a good question I wrote down. How can we have faith in the divine and yet struggle to have faith in ourselves? That is a big question, because a lot of us deal with feelings of not being enough, right? Not good enough, not thin enough, not tall enough, not big enough, whatever it is. A lot of us deal with feelings of not being enough. And yet we have this faith in something. We have this belief in something, again, that which is greater than us, whatever your faith is. It's easy for us to place our faith in something else. And what I want to encourage us to do is add on that faith in ourselves too. Add on the power that we have. We have survived. I'm 41 years old. It's like we've survived. I've survived 41 years. I'm here now. I've taken care of myself. I've made it this far. So I have to have some faith in myself that I can figure things out. And I hope that you're able to do that too. And really try to bring that joy and that healing and that good energy back into our lives. Let's see, Marjorie has a question here. Go out past love me, have the same strength as the divine. Marjorie, could you reframe your question? I don't really understand what that means there. Go out past love me, have the same strength as the divine. Write that back in again as a different way so I can understand that a little bit better. So there's another thing I want to talk about too. It's that inner voice that tells us to maybe not eat that bad food, or maybe go to bed a little bit early, or don't use so much salt, or whatever it is. It's like that's that connection to the divine there. That energy, that voice that we're channeling on the inside is giving us really good feedback that we should pay attention to. We are the ones creating our world. That is, again, coming back to that thing I want to focus on, is we are 100% responsible for our life at this point. So that's a tough statement to say, because if people are suffering financially or health-wise or whatever, we don't want to hear that. And so a better way to put that maybe is it's up to us to find solutions to the problems or challenges that we face right now in this moment. Okay, so Marjorie reframed that. Do our past relatives have similar strengths as the divine? That's a really good question, Marjorie. So when we're working in these ways, and again, for me, I do a lot of work with my ancestors. And there are beliefs that, we are made of our ancestors. So the blood that courses through my veins is a combination of my mother and father's blood, right? And then their combination of their blood is from their mother and father. And that line goes all the way back to the first of my lineage, whoever that person was. So yes, that energy, that blood, that wisdom and knowledge is in us. So I have, for example, my dad's side of the family is from Lebanon, and they were being persecuted a long time ago, and they fled as a family and moved to the United States. And they came in through Ellis Island. Their last name was changed to Jamiel. And then my family ended up moving to Rhode Island, and they settled there, and that's where I grew up. That's where I was born a generation after that. So when I work with some of the things that I'm working with myself, of like wanting that tenacity, wanting that courage, wanting that strength, I do go back to my own ancestors, because they had that tenacity, they had that courage and strength when they moved from Lebanon all the way to the New World, whatever that was. But they had that courage, they had balls. I mean, it's a big deal to uplift your family and move across the world for their protection and safety. So yes, Marjorie, our past relatives do have similar strengths. I don't want to say to the divine, but they have their strengths and knowledge are passed down to us as well. It's not just I have brown hair because my parents did, and I'm 6'4" because of my genetics, and my eye color is passed on from my family. It's also that wisdom and that knowledge that resides in their blood and in their bones and in their muscles and their DNA. That also is passed down to me too. Kitty says, you are 41 and have survived. I'm 75 and I too have survived, by my own hands. I feel so empowered by this. Thank you. Kitty, that's a fantastic thing. And I look up to you. And I don't mean this insultingly. It's like you are my elder. And so I look up to you and I'm inspired by that too. So thank you for leading by example. It's a really beautiful thing. And again, the more that we're able to do this, the more that we're able to acknowledge the strength that we truly have inside of us, the better off we're going to be. Okay. So again, let's end this portion of the intention settings. Does anyone have any questions about what I was sharing here, about that differentiation between the human world and the human expectations, and then how we try to set those intentions with the divine when we make that connection? Anyone have any questions at all? Okay, if you do, you can type them in. Until then, we're going to move on. We're going to go on to our archetypes. Now, someone asked me earlier, they sent an email in and they said, I'm really excited about this workshop, but I have no idea what an archetype is. So that's a great question. It's a great thing to actually talk about here in this workshop. Let's see here. Vaso has a question. Okay, so let's go back to this one thing and then we'll move on to our archetypes here. So Vaso has a question here. Yes, I do, about karma and trying to cleanse that karma to make it ancestor. So what I think you're typing there, Vaso, is you're wondering how you can actually use this smudging ceremony to help cleanse the karma that is through your ancestral lineage. And so that's a great question. There is a really good process about using these intentions and asking for forgiveness. And that's something where, again, some people may be triggered about asking for forgiveness, but we can say, listen, I'm here of my own. So Greg, my being right now is here in human form in the year 2020, but I come from a long line of people and I don't know all of them. I know, my father, my grandparents, and that's about it. I never knew my great-great-grandparents. But somewhere along the line there may have been things that those people did. They may not have been fantastic people. Some of them may have been wonderful people. And so what I tend to do when I work with this intention setting process is I may actually call out to those ancestors and call out to the sacred ones and say, sacred ones, there may be some karmic retribution here. There may be some karmic lineage playing out. And I just want to offer my forgiveness, my apologies, my blessings for anything my family members may have done in the past that may have affected people in a negative way. I'm sorry for that, and I want to move forward in a really good, positive, uplifting way. And so, Vaso, that's one thing I would say, when I work with my ancestral stuff, I definitely ask about healing for the past lines and also preparing the future generations. Even though I don't have any children at this moment, and I may not have children, there are plenty of my family members who are, and our family as a whole is moving forward. And so I'm putting intentions out for their well-being and their safety and their joy and happiness too. So yes, you can definitely use this offering that we have of our smudging ceremony to call out to your ancestors and ask for that forgiveness and the blessings too. Marjorie asked, I had a question about showing appreciation to the plant, i.e. cedar. So Marjorie, yes, that's a great thing to do when you're doing your smudging. If you want to express some gratitude for that, think about those plants. So cedar, for example, you can't see them here, but those are all cedar trees back there behind us. So we have tons of them all around us. And cedar is that evergreen energy. It's that positive, sweet smell. If you ever peel back a piece of cedar from the branch, there's a sweet perfume oil that's in there. And so that energy, that vibration of cedar is one of upliftedness. It's one of beauty. It has that evergreen energy. It's always green. And so, yes, I would definitely talk about that gratitude that you feel when you're working with a specific plant and put that out there. Because again, gratitude is a powerful thing that can really help your intention settings and also just your own body, mind, and spirit too. So Kimmy asked yes to get rid of bad karma. Yes, Kitty. So Kiki, sorry, Vaso, you've got that there. So yes, we answered those questions for you. Okay, let's move on to archetypes because this is the fun stuff. This is where you can put your communication to all these new friends that we're going to try to build. Okay. Now, archetypes, someone asked that question, what is an archetype? An archetype, the way I'm going to express it is the way I understand it. And so an archetype is an energy that represents multiple things. So we may say there are angels, for example. They may be an archetype. There are the 4 directions that we're going to work with today. Those are archetypes. There are energies within those 4 directions that I'll talk to. So for example, fire, right? There's fire that you literally see, like in a candle, in a lighter, or in a little bonfire. And then there's the archetype of fire. It's that energetic component. And so that fire is called grandfather fire when we work with it in a ceremonial way. So that grandfather fire is an archetype. It's an energy associated with something you can see right there. We can all see fire. So that's what archetypes are. And we use them in many different ways. So there are, if you Google, different archetypes, there's lots of psychological archetypes, like the victim, the mother, the warrior, the hero. There's all these archetypes that we as human beings, through Freud and whoever, they've kind of categorized. I think there's 11 or 12, excuse me, but there's a set of archetypes out there that people really relate to. And more often than not, we all fit into 1 or 2 of those categories. And then when we fit into those categories, there's different definitions of that kind of relate to that archetype, that if you read, you might be like, yeah, these are pretty appropriate for the way I handle situations and the way I live my life. So that's just something to think about when you're working with archetypes. What I want to talk about today is archetypes to be used when we're doing our smudging ceremony. In the beginning of this workshop, I called out to the 4 directions. And that is something that is done in many different traditions. The Catholic Church uses the cardinal directions. Different pagan religions use the directions. Native Americans use the directions. Religions down in Peru, different sacred beliefs down there, those systems, they use the directions as well. And those directions are associated with different archetypes as well. So I'm going to go through each of those right now. If you remember at the beginning of class, I said to the east, and to the south, and to the west, and to the north, calling in all of these different archetypes, calling in all the ancestors, the ones of Mother Earth and Father Sky, into my own spirit. So there's those 7 directions that we work with. And when you're starting something off like that, like I did today, I'm asking for help from all of them. Because honestly, some of you at home may resonate more with the direction of the east and all of those elements, or the south or the west. So when I do a workshop like this, I ask for help from all of them. And when I'm at home, I may be doing this smudging ceremony and calling upon one specific entity or archetype that I want to work with. And that is for a specific reason. For example, I may be feeling a little weak in my personal will. So I will call out to the energy of the east. I'll call out to the fire. I'll call out to that energy and ask for some of that strength to come into my mind, my body, and my spirit. So I can call on that specific archetype when I'm feeling low energy and kind of unguided and maybe a little stagnant. I would then reach out to those energies and ask for help, specifically from Grandfather Fire or from the East. Okay? So I'm going to go through here and talk a little bit about each direction and all of the energies that are associated with it. And then I'll go through and give you specific examples of when and how you may use these intentions. What I want you to think about at home is, do you have any questions about a situation that you would like to do a smudging ceremony for yourself? So maybe you may be feeling, again, a little misguided like I am, or ungrounded like I just expressed, or maybe you're looking for healing in your mind or healing in your heart. Maybe you've suffered a loss and you're asking for that healing to come through. So think of different topics, and near the end of this, I'm going to say, okay, it's time to share those topics. Put them in there and I'll explain to you, I'll actually demo how you can work with each of those specific topics, and I'll give an example of them. So let's start off with the east here. The east in the directions is the direction of sunrise. Okay, the sun rises in the east. Now, the energies that are associated with it are the fire, because the sun rises up there. Think of the masculine energy. The male energy is often associated with the east. It's, for me, a personal thing. And this is where it gets very personal too. For me, I live in Seattle, but my family is all in Rhode Island. So to me, when I work with the East, I'm calling out to my family. If I'm calling out to a specific friend or family member, again, I'm in Seattle, maybe someone lives in Portland, one of my old friends there, I'll call down to the South to them. So I use those directions to also speak with my family too. Now, your family may be all in one area, and so you wouldn't use the East for that. Or you may live in Rhode Island, all your family's out here on the West Coast, you would work with them on the West. So that's how I use that. Again, you need to make this very personal. Listen to what I'm saying and then make it your own, especially when it comes to your own family and things that you're working with. Okay? So think about when the sun rises, that heat and power of the sun, right? In August at noon, in the middle of August, in the Northern Hemisphere at least. I know we have people all around the world. But at summer and noon, the hottest time of the year, at noon to 2 o'clock, the hottest time of the day, that power of the sun is overwhelming. I mean, it is absolutely powerful and strong and direct. And so again, you can connect with that energy there. That's the power that I need when I'm feeling lethargic and down and kind of like uninspired. I want that strong, masculine, dominant energy of the fire from the East. And so I may do an intention where I light my Palo Santo or I light my cedar or sage and I call out directly to the East. And what I would even do is sit facing the East. Right now I'm facing the East. So I might say, "Oh, sacred ones of the East, to all my ancestors, to all those holy people in the East, to that grandfather fire energy, I'm asking for that blessing of strength. I'm asking for that fire in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit. Come into my body and uplift my mind. Let me think creatively. Let me feel strong in my mind, strong in my conviction. I'm asking for that blessing." And so, again, you're asking for that energy to help you live your own life, right? Kind of like what we talked about in the beginning of class, setting our intentions. Instead of saying, "Sacred ones, I want a new job," I'm going to say, "Sacred ones, give me that strength in my mind. I want to feel really strong." Or in my heart, I want to feel really good and determined so I can figure out how I can get a new job in this life or something I love doing. Does that make sense? It's tough having everyone be in a webinar because then I'll wait. Okay, does that make sense? So yes, so the East represents fire. You guys can write in if you want to, but the East represents fire. Okay. The South now, moving on to the South. Think of that medicine wheel too. The medicine wheel is a big circle, okay, and it relates to many different topics, many different areas. So moving on to the South. So now the energy of the South is water. Water, depending on any religion or spirituality you work with, is an element of healing. So water is this healing power. I went down to New Orleans and I interviewed a voodoo priestess about the role of water in voodoo. And what she told me, she said that the spirits, they call them Loa, the spirits are born from the water. And when they die, the spirits go back into the water. So water is their gateway. Now, I work with our Native American group up here, and they have shared many different teachings about the power and healing of water. Thinking about a woman being pregnant, carrying that baby in the water, and then the water breaks and the water touches that earth and begins to lay that path for that baby's life to grow. So water is a huge, powerful ally to us. And if you think in the real world, water is a conductor. It's also an amplifier of prayers. And so when you're setting intentions, a lot of people sometimes through all my talks here, I have this big mason jar of moon water, we call it. So I put it out and let the moon charge it up. And especially on a full moon, I do a little ceremony with that. And so people kind of laugh about my moon water, but it's true. To me, when I'm setting intentions or when I'm saying a prayer or whatever, I'll set intentions and I'll have water near me because it amplifies the energy that I'm putting out there. I may even put some energy into that water and ask for that good, healing vibe to come through when I drink it afterwards. So water is a powerful amplifier of what we're asking for and what we're working with. The South is also the place of discernment. So you may be, trying to discern a decision or a choice. And so maybe you work with the South in that way. Let's say a lot of times people will get emails from people or people calling in asking about a major life decision. Are they going to move across the country, or are they going to leave their partner, or whatever the question may be? So I oftentimes advise them to sit facing the south, or go sit by a river and meditate. Listen to that water. Try to connect with your discernment, that internal war chief and peace chief, if you will. It's like connect with that energy of what is worth fighting for and what is worth making peace with. That energy resides in the south. And so you can call upon that for advice and guidance in the south. Moving into the west. West is the direction of earth, sunsets, the womb, the mother earth. It's healing. It's the female lodge. So where the masculine energy was in the east, the female energy is in the west. And so that's the place where, again, in the timeline, if spring is the east and summer is the south, fall is the direction of the west. And so right now, again, for those of us in the northern hemisphere, we're making that transition into fall. We're starting to move more insular, more introverted, rather than the extroverted energy of the summertime. We're starting to come inwards a little bit more. The sun is setting earlier and it's rising later, so we have less daylight. So we tend to kind of move back into the home. And so think about that home with the fire inside of it, the heat in there, and the healing energy that our home can provide us. And so think of that energy, those elements, all those animals, the dreamers and the sleepers, the bears and the frogs, the ones that hibernate. It's like that's the energy of the West. And I'm going to come through and talk a little bit more about special archetypes that relate to these directions. And I really am excited about the West. That's where that white-shelled woman is. For me, that's where I find her. And so I'll share a little bit about her. But the West, again, is that sunset energy, right? That healing place. The North is the direction of air. Okay, that's the element associated with it. And the teachings for the North are that of spirit. So seasonally, the North is wintertime on that medicine wheel, right? And so from the North come our ancestors. It's that darkness at night when we see the stars, that star nation up there. Again, those are believed to be our ancestors shining down on us. And so we can walk out there and work with the stars and ask them for special gifts or blessings, or light some sage for them, make an offering to them and ask for that intention that you're wanting, that blessing that you're needing in your life, or that, kind of directing that intention to the medicine and the tools and the gifts that the North holds. Now, thinking about these four directions again, this is present in every day. It's present all throughout the year. We are constantly moving through these four directions. And that's the reason I'm kind of focusing on these four directions for our archetype talk tonight, because they are so prevalent. Sunrise, quite literally, is the direction of the east. Around noon during the day when the sun comes up, that's the south right there, that warm summer high noon energy. When the sun sets in the west, there you go, there's the west. And then in the north, the sun is underneath the earth or on the other side of it. And so it's dark. And so again, every day we move through that cycle. Every year we move through the spring, the summer, the winter, the fall, or the fall and the winter. But that cycle happens then. And so the outline of using the four directions is prevalent in many different areas of our life. When you think of the ages of us, we had one of our friends on here say she was 71. I'm 41. So a newborn, think of that as the east, right? The life comes in and then it moves around. As a teenager, it's in the south. As a young adult, it's in the west. And then in the north, it's the crone, they call him, the old wise person. And then eventually when they come to the end of that circle, it's time to pass on and move on to that next ceremony. And so again, these four directions are prevalent all over the place. We see them all around us, and it's really a powerful action to try to connect with them. Now, for those of you, some people wrote in about angels. They had a lot of questions about angels. I don't work with angels too much, but I grew up in a Catholic church and I talk to my grandmother all the time. And so she loves angels. She talks I'll tell you a funny thing is yesterday, my grandfather lost his hearing aid for a couple days. And so she's been praying to St. Michael. She prays to him, asking for help to find things. And so there's different angels, there are different saints that work for different beliefs, whatever you're working with. And so one of them, again, St. Michael, like my grandmother says, she really kind of works with that energy when she's trying to find something. So she'll set an intention. She doesn't say that. She says she prays to him, but she's setting an intention, asking him for help to help find my grandfather's hearing aid. There's the directions are also associated with those angels too. In the east is Raphael. That's a famous angel in the east, specializing in healing the body, mind, and spirit. In the south, the angel Michael specializes in helping with truth and courage. Okay. In the west, Gabriel helps with understanding messages and wisdom. And in the north, Uriel helps with truth and courage. So yet again, different belief systems are connected to these four directions. And it's up to us to discern, using the south, what is really resonating with us and what is not. Okay. Kelly says, I love angels. Kelly, you're not the only one. A lot of people love angels there. And there's some really fascinating things working with Phil. We talk a lot about our guides and our angels, and that comes into this talk as well. You know, when we are setting intentions, some of us have connected with their guides, and that's what I teach people how to do that and make that connection. Other people have angels that are kind of around them. And what we've heard, what we've seen is that guides cannot impact your life. Guides are only there to guide you, right? You may have a person that you've never met before come out of the blue, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I was actually looking for someone who was good at this, and then this person comes along and you're like, interesting. So that may be an effect from a guide. Now an angel will come in, and an angel will actually remove you from a car that you got into an accident with and the car caught on fire. So angels have those quick powers to be able to pull people out and do things that way. So there are two different ways, and I'm only talking about that for a moment because we focus a lot about that with our other group there. So Vazo is asking the question here, please say again, trying to write down notes on the east, west, north angels names. Sure. So Vazo, the angel names for the different directions, the east is Raphael, the south is Michael, the west is Gabriel, and the north is Uriel. And Kelly asked here, do you have spirit guides or angels, or is it one or the other? So again, it's a topic that a lot of people really like to talk about. I'm not going to spend too much time about that here because this is about intention setting and archetypes. But yes, Kelly, so they come in, I don't know who comes in where or why people get angels versus guides. I don't know that, but I have connected to my own guides. I've never connected to my own angel, if there's one there. I've also heard too from Phil that angels come and go throughout different times, and guides will also come and go. Like let's say I started culinary school. I may get a guide who has experience cooking, and so that may help me, you know. And so when you're in school, you may say, wow, like I just picked this up right away, it's so weird. And it's really not weird that you're getting some help there, you're getting some assistance there. So Carmen asked, what is it like when you connect with a guide? So Carmen, this is a good question too. And again, I want to keep that focus back on what we're talking here. I'm going to refer to guides as one of our archetypes. So I may have a guide. I'll share with you. There's a guide that I'm working with now of a woman's face that I've seen in meditation a few times. It's at the very beginning of my communication with her, and I'm trying to develop a relationship with her. And so at night, when I do my meditations, I will close my eyes, I'll light a little bit of sage or Palo Santo, make that offering to her and say, I don't know who you are or what we're trying to do here, but I'm asking for a little bit of that connection to strengthen. I'm asking for maybe in my dreams, kind of give some messages to me, or in my meditations, maybe show me something, but let me understand it in a way that I can digest it. And that gets back to our intention setting of what we were talking about today too. When you're asking for help from your guides or from these sacred directions, ask for it in a way that you can actually uptake and digest. You know, a lot of times, most of us will ask for strength for some reason. We want to be stronger. We want to be strong in a certain thing or whatever. And what is the easiest way to become stronger? The easiest way to become stronger is to face a challenge and overcome that challenge. And so, you ask someone who's been sick and I feel so much stronger now. I feel better. I overcame that challenge. So if you're setting intentions to be stronger, make sure that you also add in there that you can be, you can gain this wisdom in a way that doesn't make you suffer too much because you do want to uptake this knowledge. And, honestly, none of us really want to suffer. I don't know who wants to suffer, but that makes us stronger. That learning, that I don't want to say suffering, but that challenge that we face, let's put it that way. The challenges that we face make us stronger because of them. And so what I'm trying to do at this phase of my life is to learn the wisdom and knowledge that I need, but cut back a little bit of the suffering because we've all suffered a lot there. Heidi wrote in here, do you believe in energy centers around the world? So Heidi, that's a fantastic question. And this comes back to this topic too here. So we live on a river. We live on the Tolt River here, and it's a powerful river. Now, people have told me it's a powerful river, and I was in a ceremony a couple of years ago, and I had a vision that it felt like the river was talking to me, and it said, you need to lay in the river with your head upstream and your feet downstream, and you need to realign that flow of energy through my body. Now, the Tolt River here is where Seattle gets most of its drinking water. There's a big dam upriver from us, and that water is ice cold. And so when I laid in it, I was like, ah! But I really did feel something powerful in there. And so, yes, there are different places around the world that are heightened. I used to live in Phoenix, and you may have heard of Sedona. They have these things called vortexes. And, there's different rock formations around Sedona that people claim are a vortex and that there's some kind of energy magnetism there. To be honest, I went up there a lot and I never really experienced a vortex, but to me, the land was so beautiful. That was the sacredness of it. That was something so special and so unique that it touched my heart in that way. Now, when we went and hiked the Inca Trail, we did it with a shaman, and he was telling me, this was 2 years ago, we did that, my sister and I. He was telling me that there has always been this spiritual association with the Himalayas, and how for as long as they could remember, the Himalayas was kind of the spiritual epicenter of the world. And then something shifted. There's prophecies, there's all these different beliefs that go around with it, but apparently it has shifted down towards the Andes. And now they believe, a lot of shamans believe, that the Andes is now the spiritual epicenter of the world. And so there's a lot of medicine that comes out of that. There's a lot of new belief systems that come out of that. And so, yes, I forget where that was. Heidi, I think that was. There are energy centers around the world. I definitely believe in that. Okay, two more questions here. The symbolism of the black horses in your dreams. Marjorie, we're going to talk about that in your email because, again, that's a little personal. Harry, hi, Greg. What are the names for each directions? So, Harry, I'm wondering if you mean the angels again, or if you mean what other are named for each direction. If it's the angels in the east are Raphael, and the south is Michael, the west is Gabriel, and the north is Uriel. So I don't know if that's what you mean for that. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit more about certain entities, certain archetypes that I really like to work with. And so at this point, if you guys have questions about, there you go, Harry, thank you. If you guys have questions about specific examples in your life that you're looking for some advice on what archetype to connect with and maybe how to frame your intention setting, write that in either the Q&A or in the chat, and I'll do some demos of that for now. But as you're writing that, I want to talk a little bit about these two energies that have been really helpful for me. Now, my father passed away unexpectedly a while ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was having a really hard time. I owned a yoga studio at that time, and I taught, the way it was set up, I always taught in the direction of the east. That was just the most convenient way for me to put my mat down, whatever. And so when my dad passed away, I went to a ceremony with my teachers, and I had this vision of this woman in the West. And it was this, after talking to my teachers about it, it's this white shelled woman. And so this white shelled woman is the energy of healing. Now, if you Google the white shelled woman, you're going to find a few different stories about her, and different tribes have different stories. It's a creation story. And so she comes up quite often. Some people say she has a sister called Changing Woman. Some people believe that Changing Woman is the white shelled woman. They're the same person. Changing Woman was a young child, and white shelled woman is the adult version of that. So again, you may read a lot of things on the internet that are from different lineages, and this is where it may get confusing for you, because the truth of whatever we're looking at or whatever you're reading is how it actually impacts your life. So for me, in my meditations, in my ceremony, I connected with the white shelled woman in the West. So when I got back to my yoga studio, I started teaching from the West. I sat in the West. I did all my intention setting before and after class from the West. I reached out to that white shelled woman. I told a lot of my friends about this white shelled woman, this vision that I saw of her. And the way I see her is this beautiful woman, long brown hair. She kind of levitates in the water, and there's kind of mist around her feet, and there's rainbows over her. And in some of the stories I've read and some of the things I've heard from my teachers is that she deals with healing your broken heart. She whispers to you on those rainbows. You know, when you see that female rain, that gentle, misty rain, that's something from the white shell woman. And so I had a friend actually give me one of these beautiful white abalone shells, which you may have seen the last time we talked about our smudging ceremony. I don't light anything in this. This represents the archetype of the white shelled woman to me. So I have another abalone shell that has like purple and browns in there that I use to light all my cedar and sage and Palo Santo. For this one, I actually meditate with this. This is a white shell, this abalone, and it's absolutely beautiful. And for me, when I see that iridescence of the abalone on the inside is what I see when I picture and meditate that white shelled woman. So that's why I use that shell in my own meditations. And so that's what I guess what I'm trying to say is you may feel an entity or an energy that you associate with, and you may find a piece, meaning an altar piece, that represents that energy. And so I highly recommend taking that and putting that on your altar and maybe using it when you're setting intentions. Let's see here. Carmen says, do our actions on the earth, like dams and pollution, ruin the energies we get from the earth? So Carmen, that's a good question. You know, again, for us living in the Northwest here, we have the orca whales. And I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, there was that mama orca whale who lost her baby and she carried it for 16 days on her nose. Now, those orca whale are dying, their residents here, they're dying because their food source is the Chinook salmon is limited because of the dams that we built. I say we, meaning humans. And so it's stopping that flow of fish. And for some reason, that's the only type of fish they like to eat. And so, yes, we cause a lot of damage as humans to this earth, from clear cutting to dams to pollution to everything. It's like we don't believe as a race, as a people, let me say that, as a people, that we are a part of nature. And some of us, a lot of us do believe that, but the way policies are made and the way businesses are run, it doesn't seem to me like people are aware that we are a part of nature and that we have a finite limit of resources on this planet. And so, yes, our pollution, our actions affect the earth in different ways. But again, there are also studies of, like, there was a study of a Japanese scientist, I can't remember his name offhand, who had jars of water. I don't know if you've seen this one. And he had his classes, one set of jars, he wrote, you know, bad things like, you smell like crap, and you're ugly, and you're terrible, and blah, we hate you, all this stuff. And then another set of water jars that had beautiful sayings on it. I love you. Thank you. You know, I'm so grateful for you. And what they found after a while was that the actual DNA, that not the DNA, but the actual molecules of the water changed form. And the ones that were being negatively spoken to kind of looked all funky and weird. And the ones that were talked to with a lot of love and gratitude and appreciation looked like little snowflakes. And so it's definitely, you can Google it, definitely check that out because it's really interesting. And so again, I feel like there is this push and pull with humans and our environment. And yes, as bad as things are, we can also heal those things too. And in our own personal life, we can do what we can to help lessen that burden. Now, I personally cannot go take down a dam, but I don't have to buy farmed salmon as a way to, do something when I feel like I can't do anything. I can do that. And so there are things that we can do about that. Kimmy says, I want to work on keeping well with career, money making, and coworkers. How do I get help with my love relationships? Stop my drastic losses that keep happening in love, relationships, career, and health. Does my question make sense? Yes, Kimmy, I think so. So what I would do, if I was in your situation, if I was asking for your intentions, I would go to the east. I would look for that strength. And what I would ask for is that strength of my own conviction, my own love of myself. A lot of times when we're in unhealthy relationships, it's because we suffer from that less than thing I was talking about earlier and not being enough. And so I may put that intention out. I'll tell you, for me, I have been single for a long time. And so when I work with my partner, I don't know who my partner is, but I put that intention out there. Oh, sacred ones, whoever my partner is, wherever they are, I'm letting that person know that I'm doing the work I need to do so that when we meet, I'm going to be ready to have a relationship and I'm going to know that this is a good fit and we're going to move forward in a really healthy way for both of us. So Kimmy, I would definitely ask you and advise you to speak that way to the east, to ask that sunrise, that bright, beautiful ball of fire. Ask for that strength that fire has. Think again about that. Remember I said when the sun comes over in August, it's super hot out. That's the power that you want to feel for yourself, that empowering feeling, that uplifted feeling, so that you can go on living the life you want to go on living, okay? Let's see here. Tina, I have grief over my husband's recent passing and also grief around the traumas my daughter and granddaughters have suffered. What archetypes would I focus on in dealing with grief and also seeking justice for my granddaughters? Tina, that's a great question. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being so open with us here too. So what I would talk to is my girl, the white-shelled woman. That's why, again, I talk with her a lot. I would call out to her. And so I'll do an example of what I would do here for you. So I would light a little bit of Palo Santo or cedar or sage, whatever you choose to work with. Again, Palo Santo is that spiritual connection. Sage is that strength building, the protection. So maybe you want to use sage to light I'll do a little sage today for that. Okay, now I'm going to talk to the white-shelled woman on behalf of you. And so you can rephrase this for your own session back home. So I'm going to close my eyes and take a breath. And for me, because I associate that white-shelled woman with the West, I'm going to say, oh, sacred ones of the West, I'm calling out to you today, especially to the white-shelled woman, my friend, my teacher, my ally, my guide, asking for your help here. For my friend Tina, she's suffering in her heart. She's feeling pain in her heart, white-shelled woman. I'm asking that you visit her in her dreams and visit her in her meditation and help uplift that pain that she's feeling in her heart, in her mind, and in her spirit. I'm also asking that you look over her daughter and her granddaughter for those things that they suffered for, those experiences in their life that brought pain and hurt. My white-shelled woman, I'm asking for you to go see these people here and help them have a good night's sleep tonight. Help them uplift their mind, their body, and their spirit. Help them bring that healing to their spirit that they need so that they can live their life and stand up tall and feel really good about who they are. Thank you for listening to me today. Oh. And so, Tina, for me, I would call out to that white-shelled woman in that way. I would ask her, and again, don't share anything on this, but be honest when you speak to these energies. Be honest fully honest when you call out to them for help. They know your story. They're witnessing this the whole time. And so when you are asking about your daughters and your granddaughters, it's like, express it, say it there, put it out there to them, to the sacred ones, to those directions that you want to work with, possibly the West, that white-shelled woman, possibly. Ask her for help, for guidance, for protection. Maybe use that sage for protection. Grandmother Sage, I'm asking you to watch out for my daughter and my granddaughter. And so again, we're putting action behind our request. We're combining things. We're using sage because that represents strength and power. And we're working with the West, which represents healing. And you may even want to call on the sun too. So it's like you can speak to these energies. The moon is another beautiful thing, Tina, to think about. That moon is that female energy where the sun is the masculine, the moon is the feminine. The moon pulls on the water of the earth. It pulls on our water. And so, that may be something. Ask for that blessing. Ask for that moon to watch out for your daughter, for your granddaughter. Ask for that tugging energy that the moon has. Ask for it to uplift some of that pain off of your own heart, off of the heart of your daughter and granddaughters too. So hopefully that may help you with that as well. Let's see here. We have a few more questions on this side. Sharon says, would it be prudent to ask for spiritual protection before ceremonies? Sharon, absolutely, 100%. That is a fantastic thing to do. And again, I might almost ask for protection anytime. You can always use that safety net. And so again, when you phrase it in the terms of the sacred ones or the holy people or whoever, sacred ones, I'm asking for this protection of my body, my mind, and my spirit. I'm asking to be protected and uplifted. I want to live my best life. I want to step forward in a place of confidence and of feeling empowered. And by feeling protected from you, that will allow me to do that. So again, putting that action behind it where you are responsible for standing upright and you're asking for some advice and some guidance from those sacred ones around you. So thank you for that, Sharon. Melissa, hey Melissa. When it comes to health issues that have been chronic, already addressed with diet, supplements, herbs, acupuncture, etc., what do you suggest for setting an intention for deep healing, thinking the issue possibly has ancestral roots? So Melissa, that's a great question. And yes, what I would work with, again, for me, the one with healing is that white-shelled woman. Now, this goes for a lot of us here. Sometimes we suffer things physically, right? You may have diabetes, for example. That is a physical manifestation of something that's happening in your body to your organs that is manifesting in a physical response. We may have emotional trauma. So there's, I just lost a loved one. Someone expressed that they lost someone close to them. So there's that emotional pain there. And so you can heal yourself emotionally, or you can ask for that emotional healing too. But then, Melissa, there's that deep spiritual healing. And this is what I think you're referring to here. That ancestral lineage, there's something there, something along the lines, something in your bloodline from one of your ancestors or multiple ancestors that may be manifesting itself in a visceral response for you here in this moment, in this lifetime. So I would absolutely ask for that. I'm going to do a thing right now for you. So I might use for you some Palo Santo because we're talking on that spiritual level. Okay, so we're going to light a little bit of Palo Santo here. Okay. Now, working with this Palo Santo, I'm going to call out to the energies of the West. Oh, sacred ones of the West. I'm asking you, calling on you right now for your help for my sister Melissa. She's feeling this deep health issue that's happening. She's tried many different solutions, many different treatment plans, and they have not worked to the way she needs them to work. We have a feeling here, sacred ones and holy people, that this is an ancestral line. This is something in her bloodline that needs to be taken care of. And we know we have tools to work with you. And sacred ones, I'm praying for you right now. I'm putting this intention out for my sister Melissa, that she can feel good in her body and her mind and her spirit when she goes to sleep tonight. That when she wakes up, she feels rejuvenated and uplifted. And that you doing your divine work in a way that I cannot understand, if you can go in there and remove whatever is hurting her or giving her pain in her body and her stomach, I ask that you uplift that and take that off of her so that she can get back to doing the things that she wants to do and needs to do in this lifetime. And for all of her ancestors, for that whole line there, asking for forgiveness if there was something that happened along the way, we just ask that that is forgiven at this point. Melissa is trying from this point forward to live a really good, uplifted life, a really positive life, helping other people. And so we're asking for her actions to help repair maybe something that happened in the past in her bloodline. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, Palo Santo, for your medicine here. Oh. So Melissa, maybe something like that, something along those lines, asking for that blessing, that something happened in the past that none of us really know about. Maybe you can ask for that medicine to uplift it. And I know we have other friends that we can work together on some deeper healings for you too. So I hope that helps. But yes, that ancestral root, it's an issue. It can be an issue for many of us here. Barbara, hey, so if a disease runs in the family, is it a trauma? Yes, you just answered that. Yeah. So Barbara, that's a good question. Now, if it's a disease that runs in the family. So let me say, my father had diabetes. Most of the men in his family have had diabetes. Now, is that an ancestral thing? I have no idea. But genetically, it's a genetic thing for sure. Our people in our family, men in our family, are predominantly affected by diabetes, and so it's something for me to take responsibility about my own life and stay healthy and stay active and keep my blood sugar in check. So that's again what I'm getting back to about these archetypes and intentions. I know this history, and so I want to avoid that history. I want to prepare myself and live in a way that I mitigate any type of cause or harm that I'm doing to myself related to food and sugar, especially. So thank you for that, Barbara. Carmen, I want to know what archetype to ask and how to ask for letting go and giving forgiveness. Carmen, that's a great question. Forgiveness is something that is really powerful. For me, I would speak to the North about forgiveness and the South, but the North is kind of that ancestral teaching. For those of us, for a lot of us, it's difficult to acknowledge and let go of whatever whatever we need to let go of to actually forgive someone. It's easy to say, okay, yeah, you're forgiven, but not forgotten. So there's that thing too. We don't really forget. And true forgiveness is really releasing whatever the heart is holding on to, whatever the mind is holding on to, or the spirit is holding on to, that is festering, for lack of a better word, inside of us. And we all know if we don't forgive someone for something, there's a festering in there. There's a building. A pipe burst in our bathroom. And when we open the wall up, there's a bunch of mold in there, which means that pipe has been leaking for a long time. And so that's a similar thing that I relate to forgiveness there. It's like, you can say you're going to forgive someone, but until you 100% release that thing that you're holding, there will always be something festering and growing inside. And so I might ask my ancestors from the North, that wisdom, the teaching from the stars, that thing that I cannot see and I cannot understand. So remember, the North is related to darkness. It's nighttime. And like I said at the beginning of class, you can now see it's starting to get dark out here. So when this class is over and I go outside, the sky will be dark and I won't be able to see anything out there. That is where the magic is. That unknown thing, that great mystery of what is out there, it's held in the North. And so I may ask the energies of the North, can you help me figure out a way that I can release some of this pain that I'm feeling? Whatever that thing I'm holding on to, can you help me let go of that? And so I think the North and the South to a point, but mainly the North, Carmen, would be really beneficial for you to work that way and asking them to help you release and let go of whatever you're holding on to that is festering inside of you. Because true forgiveness is a release. True forgiveness is totally letting go of things. Kimmy, healing for my health, for my kitty. Kimmy, I'm glad your Kimmy's doing really good. Your kitty's doing really good. I remember this summer seeing her on there. Meditate on the West. It looks like you got your answer for that one already. Where do you recommend to buy Palo Santo? Harry asked. Harry, this is a great question. Palo Santo is one of those plants that is very popular right now, and so it's being unhealthily, it's probably not a word, irresponsibly harvested. Let's put it that way. It's not being harvested in a respectful and responsible way. So if you are trying to buy some online, I would try to find ones that say sustainably harvested. And again, you just kind of have to hope that that actually is the truth, because you really don't know what you're buying online. But if you don't live in the South, Palo Santo grows around the equator. When I was in the Galapagos, I saw an actual Palo Santo tree, and they grow there. So I was able to get a big chunk of it and bring it home. But yeah, you can't buy them where we live unless you live by the equator. So you have to order them online. And so I would just say, make sure you buy it from a place that says sustainably harvested so they stay safe. And another thing, guys, too, this white sage is also very, very popular. And that's being over harvested as well. So when you're trying to find these plants, and again, if you haven't watched the first smudging webinar, I teach you how to go and harvest your own plants and how to make that offering and how to build your smudge sticks. If you are buying your plants online, please make sure to look that they are sustainably harvested, because it's a big thing. And again, if you're draining the source of this medicine, it's gone. So we want to make sure it's sustainably harvested. Kimmy asks, can we do together here a forgiveness chant? Kimmy, we absolutely can. I don't know of a forgiveness chant that you're looking for. So maybe what we can do is meet in a group on our Facebook page afterwards and do a chant that way. I can find some for us and have that happen. A lot of the chants that I know are a mix of Sanskrit, and there's some other chants that we do that involve a drum and drumming. And so we'll be talking about that more in the future webinars coming up. But right now is probably not the best time to do that forgiveness chant. But Vaso, I will definitely get one over to you for sure. Marjorie asks, I've been hearing about a lot of controversy about how you obtain the Palo Santo, such as fair trade. Where do you obtain your, so I'm assuming that says Palo Santo. Does bad karma on how it was obtained affect the Palo Santo effect on smudging? Okay, so I think I know what you're writing there, Marjorie. So what Marjorie is asking is, if you are buying unsustainably harvested Palo Santo, when you use it in your ceremonies, does it affect the efficiency on it? Does it have an effect on the smudging? And what I will say is no. And the combination, the example that I'll give you is using tobacco. So in many ceremonies, we use tobacco as a very sacred plant for certain pipes that we use, or if we're doing a tobacco blessing on someone. And so that tobacco plant is a very sacred, special plant. Now, you may think of a Virginia Slim, someone smoking a cigarette that way, and it's like, that is still tobacco. And so that's the thing I want to emphasize, is like, these plants have a spirit. And so if you're using sacred tobacco in a sacred way, yes, everything is great and everything is good. If you're smoking a Virginia Slim, you're still working with tobacco. And a lot of times, I use tobacco as an example, but you may see people who are, I've seen many people who have gone outside for a smoke. They're stressed out. I'm going to have a smoke. I need a smoke. I'm stressed out. And so what they're quite literally doing is putting more intentions out there and praying for more stress when they go outside and smoke when they're stressed. So the energy of the plant doesn't care how it's being, where it comes from or how it's used. Tobacco is tobacco. Palo Santo is Palo Santo. If someone is over harvesting it, their intentions are still probably, they want to make sure that people are using this in a good way, and they're just cutting down too much of it. So what I typically do, and I do this with food as well. So this is another intention setting thing. When I have food come to my plate or to my table, if I haven't prepared it myself, I usually put both my hands over it and I just say a brief little intention. I just say, thank you for this food that I have to eat. I'm asking for blessings for all the people who grew it, the sunlight and the rain. Thank you for that. The earth that it grew in, the Mother Earth. Thank you for that. I'm asking for blessings for the farmers who grew it, for the person who put it on the shelf, for the cashier who helped me check out. I'm asking thanks for the chef who cooked with it. I'm really putting out appreciation for all of those people whose hands touched that food. And I'm also asking that that food kind of goes into me and heals me in the way that I need it to heal me. And so that's one example of kind of using your intentions to clean up something that you may not know is 100% clean. So you can do that with your Palo Santo if you order it online and you say, I don't know where this came from, but maybe when you get it, light a little bit of sage and waft that sage smoke over it and just say, Thank you that you're here. I don't know where you came from or how you came to be, but thank you for the person who cut it down. Thank you for the people who shipped it. I want this to be clean and clear and good. And so I'm asking for that good blessing in there. So I hope that helps, Marjorie, with your question. It looks like there's no other questions here, and we're coming towards the end of our time together. So if anyone has any last minute questions, let me know. But for a quick recap, again, just going over this, when you're setting your intentions, remember that differentiation between human world and spiritual world, that divine energy. Ask for things in a way that empower you. So if you're asking for help in a certain area, ask to be empowered in that area. If you're looking for health, if you're looking for love, ask to feel really good about yourself, to feel really healthy inside so that you can attract that partner or that love that you're looking for. So frame it that way. Also, when you're working with your archetypes, look around you and try to see where these things are coming from. So if you're looking at the east, one thing when I was first started to work with the directions, for probably 1 or 2 hours, I got up before sunrise and I would sit and watch the sunrise and look at every little thing. And there's a lot of lessons in that. There's a lot of teaching in that. And there's a lot of things that I can then call upon when I'm setting my intentions. So for example, there is a time right before the sun rises where it's silent and the nighttime is still kind of there. Some spiritualities call it the ambrosial hour. It's like first light, they call it too. And so if you get up at first light and watch the sun actually come up and listen to the birds, like there's that first bird chirping that kind of wakes up, and then he wakes up his friends, and then you may start to see some moving around, and you see the color of the sky brighten up, and you begin to see everything around you from pitch black to actually seeing it. That's powerful medicine. There's a lot of really good things that you can speak about when you're setting your intentions when you sit there and watch a sunrise, or when you sit by a river and connect with the south. So maybe you go sit by a river for an hour, 2 hours, and watch that energy move by. Watch that water energy resonate and vibrate with the water that is inside of us, and how you leave feeling so much more refreshed and uplifted. Same thing if you go for a hike or if you spend a day at the beach or whatever. It's like that those elements that are always watching us, they resonate and vibrate with us. And so we're able to kind of take some healing just from that act of sitting with those elements. If you sit and watch the sunset, all of those feelings that happen. So when you sit and watch the sunrise, it's like anything can happen this day. I remember saying that so many times. I'd sit out there and go, this day can go anyway. It can be the best day I've ever had, or it can turn sideways real quick. It's like, who knows? The day is full of potential. When you watch the sunset, it's like your day has already happened, right? You're starting to wind down for nighttime. You're starting to relax. You're starting to get a little bit tired. You're cooking some food, and you're going to start to nest. And so it's really preparing for that next phase, which is the dream time. And again, if you're outside at night and you watch that go outside when it's a starry night and you just sit out there for like an hour and you look up at the stars, maybe you see a shooting star or something like that, it touches you in a certain way. So for me, these 4 directions are really powerful, and in them are held a lot of different medicines, a lot of different teachings, and a lot of different archetypes that you can work with, from the elements, the fire, earth, air, water, to the white-shelled woman, to anything else, that masculine lodge in the east, the feminine lodge in the south. All of those, the wisdom of our ancestors, you can ask for them too. In the north, that discernment of, again, what's worth fighting for and what's making peace with in the south. You have so many different opportunities to uptake the wisdom that is all around us at all times. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'm going to be editing this video down and we'll put it online so you can watch it tomorrow if you want to refer back to it, or maybe I demoed a few things that you want to watch again. If you haven't seen the first part of this, the smudging webinar, you can go on my store and you can buy that, and these two go together. After this is done, we're going to launch in November our Chakra Healing Practitioner Program. So in that, I'm going to be sharing a lot about the chakras. I'm going to show you how to heal and balance them. I'll have yoga classes in there, guided meditations, some journaling processes for you. So there's going to be a lot of education and things that you can do to help balance and get your chakras working really well. There's also on my website a free chakra check-in that you can take anytime. It's a survey that you fill out. It has each chakra, there's 7 of them, has 7 questions, and then you put the scores in a little grid, and you can see which chakras are out of balance or unaligned with the others. And that's where you can focus some of your energy on. Now, working with these intention settings and archetypes, you can try to focus your intention setting on those different chakras to bring your life and our energy system, the chakra system, back into balance. After that, we're going to move into our guide work too. So stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of stuff on my website and all over our social media stuff. So I see everyone saying goodbye now. Kara, good to see you guys. Marjorie, thank you so much for seeing that. Marjorie says you should ask your members to share this info with others. Yeah, Marjorie, thank you. And something else that would help too is on that store where I'm asking for reviews, because I'm trying to start a business doing this and sharing teachings, and that really helps. So if you're able to leave a review, if you enjoyed this workshop, you can totally do that on my website too. But I thank you guys so much for your time. And I will look forward to seeing you next time too. Have a great rest of your night.
My name is Jamiel, and welcome to Explore and Exhale. Today we're in the beautiful city of Cusco, Peru. 7,000 feet up on Mount Hood. We'll be exploring the beautiful diversity of the Galapagos Islands. We connect with the power of the earth here in Machu Picchu in your own home. We'll be exploring the magic, the mystery, and the history of New Orleans. Despacho is a way to create something that we offer back to Mother Earth to acknowledge and give thanks for her gifts and blessings. We'll be using music and prayer to create this despacho and then offer it into the fire as a way to give thanks for Mother Earth. One of the things I've learned here on the Galapagos is with all of the technology that we have, all of the virtual reality, all the special effects that we have in movies, there is nothing that can compete with the beauty of Mother Nature.
We don't believe, for example, that the lakes that we have around here is just water. It's like stories of energy. It's for that we used to take a bath over there, not to clean our body. It's to receive energy from that gods, that sacred mountain.
In a very literal sense, we're walking on the bones of our ancestors. There is no separation, and you can't say that I'm different than the water and I don't have water in me.